Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to do an in-depth review on Studiovity and give it the screenwriting mentor review, which is my way of scoring how good I think a screenwriting software is. Now in the final score, we'll look at it from the following perspectives. We'll look at it in terms of cost, in terms of features, in terms of ease of use, resources, and communication. And communication this time around has been an interesting bit. And I'll explain more once we get to that part of the review. So stick around to the end of the video and see how Studiovity stands up. Our first category is pricing. Now the interesting thing about Studiovity is it is quite inexpensive. It's quite cheap. And I think the last time I looked, it started at about $2 a month, and you can actually get it a lot cheaper than that if you use my code in the description below. You actually save a little bit more, so it's actually really inexpensive. Now you might be wondering, why are they offering this at such a low cost? I mean, how do they make any money? Now Studiovity isn't a screenwriting writing software per se. Most of its power comes from its production software. So one where you can do a script breakdown, such as figuring out wardrobes and props, figuring out a shooting schedule for your film, and creating short lists as well as storyboards. Now, if you're interested in this type of thing, the cheapest pricing tier is $15 a month, which is half. Let me say that again. It's half the price of Studio Binder, at least at the time of this recording. However, as a screenwriting channel, I'm going to be more concerned with the screenwriting part, and this is what I will be reviewing. So one more detail is that at the time of this video, the creators of Studiovity, again, have crafted a deal for my viewers. So again, simply put Paul30 at the checkout to get 30% off your purchase. Note that the channel will receive some compensation if you do purchase a plan. There is a free version, which I always implore people to try before they do before they buy a software, simply to kick the tires and give it a try and see if it fits your work style. Features is our next category. Studiovity is a web-based app. So if you're using a Chromebook, you should be able to use this. Or if you use any other type of software, it doesn't save it doesn't have like a big footprint on your computer, because most of it is coming from a web app. You go to their website and work on your stuff in the program. So some people think that's fine and others don't, but just so you know, as we jump a little further into now, even though Studiovity is more a production app than a writing app, you'll still find a pretty solid screenwriting product. In fact, Studiovity has a much better screenwriting product than Studio Binder, which is very similar to Studiovity in terms of what it offers. In fact, it's got some of the features that it has on top of Studio Binder, which is really just a bare basic editor. It has pre-work functions like a beat board as well as cards. Now the rest of the screenwriting editor is pretty standard fare. Now you can import PDF, text, and fountain. Now, however, a caution I have with this particular feature is that the format doesn't come over very smoothly, so just be mindful of that. You'll probably have to make some adjustments, but still, from that perspective, you can make those adjustments, and so it's a lot easier than having to rewrite it. But I just noticed it took me a little longer to get those in. Now you can share your documents just as easily, either by creating a link or sending to a coworker over email. Now for a production app, I'm pretty impressed that they were not chintzy on the writing features. Good job, guys. Let's head into our next category, which is ease of use. Now, it's pretty easy to use. Now, it has some good quality of life stuff, like remembering your character's name, and it has a great graphical and word blended interface. I could select on the element pretty easily, and it does have a keyboard shortcuts as well. Now, if you haven't used many other screenwriting software programs before, this is going to be pretty easy to get the hang of. Now this leads us into our next category, which is resources. Now Studiovity has a pretty small YouTube channel with about 77 subscribers. You can see a list of some of their latest videos. It's been quite a while since they put out content, at least at the time of this particular video, though I could be wrong because I haven't checked it just lately, so if I might have to eat my words here in a second, but the last time I checked it was a couple of months out. The content that they have on their YouTube channel is mainly focused on how to run the app, which I get. What I would like to see a little bit more focus on is just on screenwriting. In the app, let's take a look at some of their resources. Let's take a look at the website for Studiovity in terms of resources. Let's click on the blog, which you can find on their main page here. All right, so we're taking a look at the blog section here, and they have some very interesting articles. You can see there's one on pre-production for paperwork, a guide for beginners, a complete guide to creating the perfect movie script, the filmmaking get your free shot list template now, the ultimate guide to writing a better story ending. So you see there's a bunch of different blog articles that you can read through. A lot of good ones. They have 4 pages worth. So that is great. That is awesome. The next thing I'd like to point out is publications. So when you're on the website, again, you can go to publication, and you can find novels, blog stories, and screenplays from writers near you, and you can read these. So this is pretty nice. You know, if we can look at Black Cat, I know Edgar Allan Poe wrote that. Now you have to be logged in to read this, and then you can read the story. Pretty cool, huh? So yeah, so like I said, you can go to publications, you can create and publish your own documents. I think you have to have a certain amount of people who've read the article before, or your book before you can get any money for it. But at least there's that option there. And then there's a bunch of different things you can read. Frankenstein, The Lamp Bearer. So a lot of good stuff that you can read from different authors, and you can put your own up there as well too. So I think that's a great resource, just so you can get used to reading different things, getting your imagination working. So these are some of the good resources that you can have to look at. So our last category is communication. Now this was a pretty unique one. So I haven't had this with a lot of other programs that I've used before, and since I've actually been working with them, I sent them an email. I don't use my customer email. I have an email I use specifically so people can identify who I am when I do a review. Not that I'm that big, but just in case people have heard of me in the past, I have a dummy sort of email that I use to, you know, especially if I work with some company or something like that they don't know who it is. So I sent them an email on their account, which is Studiovity, info@studiovidity.com. And it was like 4 days, and I hadn't received a reply. So I talked to them on another email from one of my other accounts and said, hey, how long does it normally take for you to do a turnaround on an email? And they sort of told me 24 hours. I said, okay. So then I resubmitted on that email address again, and it didn't turn out. And so then they gave me another email address to try, and that one went right through, and I got a response within 5-6 hours tops, because since they're in India, there is a little bit of a time gap when they get, which I think is fine. And so then I talked to them a little bit more, and I found out that they are trying to use or thought they had a different email listed, and it's not info@studiovidity.com, it's info@studiovidity.in, and I will put that right up here. So if you send it, and they're going to get that fixed on their website. They haven't done that just yet. But when I emailed these, not that they're necessarily looking for my response, but when I sent to the support, because again I sent to this with this dummy email, they were able to respond right away. So I think they got that problem figured out. But if you're trying to get a hold of them and the info.com address is not working, and that's the one you're sending to, send to support at studiovidity.in. Again, I'll put that here, as well as the other address that they told me to send to. So just so you know how that communication all turned out. So here we go. So let's get to a rating of Studiovity. Is it even worth your time? So let's take a look at it. So I rate on a 5-reel systems, 5 reels being the best and 1 being woohoo, pretty bad. So for price, I give Studiovidity, boom, 5 reels. It's really inexpensive, and if you use my code, it's even cheaper. I mean, this is really inexpensive stuff. And yes, that's a shameless plug. I will plug it. It's from a cost perspective, it is great. Now let's take a look at it in terms of features, and with that, I give it 3 reels. So basically about average. And to be fair, it's a production app, not just a screenwriting app. And again, I'm looking at just from a screenwriting perspective, not the production from the production's perspective. Now, however, the creators of Studiovidity, I think, have gone above and beyond in terms of production apps, because most production apps they just sort of really tack on the screenwriting app part. And this one is pretty solid. This is a pretty it's a little bit, it's a lot better than Studio Binder. I will say that off the top of my head. I think I gave Studio Binder a 1 in that category. This is definitely a 3. This is a really average, and that makes it sound bad. It's not. It's really a solid screenwriting app. So it's good. It's a definitely solid 3. And 3 again is average. So I really give my hats off to them. Ease of use for Reels. Now, this would be very easy for a novice to pick up because of the graphical / word blended interface. It was really easy to get around in the interface. There are no problems with that. I didn't have to guess, well, what does this do? I mean, it was really easy to figure out what to do. Most of the parts of Studiovity were pretty easy to use. I didn't have a hard time moving around the program or using it. Now, since my last try at the beatboard, the function actually worked for me this time, so that was a solid plus. One thing to be concerned about is importing scripts, and that I said that a little earlier, that you're probably going to have to do some formatting with it. Is that the end of the world? No. And trying to do that, I haven't done that in a lot of other programs, but this one I really tried to see how that worked, and that particular function, it worked, but you had to do a lot of editing. And I'm assuming that happens with a lot of other programs. Resources, 3 Reels. Now, I think at the time of this video, their YouTube channel is a little on the sparse side. On the other hand, I thought that their blog posts, on the other hand, were done well and were plentiful. I really enjoyed their blog posts. They have a place where you can publish and have people read your work, as well as having the opportunity to maybe get paid as well too. Overall, I think this is a mixed bag, but one that many screenwriting software companies struggle with. So I think, again, they're nice and solid. A 3 is not a bad score out of 5. They're nice and solid. I think they got some great features, and if they continue to build on those features, I think that's definitely going to get up to a 4, and especially if they start doing a YouTube channel with a lot more video content, definitely get up to Studio Binder of a 5. Communication. I'm actually going to go with 4 Reels. This one was a real hard one for me to figure out if I would do a 1 or a 3, or I really think they have, at least with my communication with them, they've been very, I've talked to them about different parts of the app and stuff like that, what things that I think work well, and they've been really trying to make sure that they fix these things. And so I think overall, I would give them a 4. Like I said, if you have problems getting a hold of them, take a look earlier in the video where I put up those 2 different email addresses, give those a jingle. Like I said, once I know that email hit, they were very responsive. So I think the problem was that they just had an email address that wasn't working for them. But I think they're going to have that corrected. Hey everybody, it's Paul from the future, wanting to let you know, yes, the Studiovity does have the info at studiovidity.com. Email address does work, so it does work. So does the other 2 email addresses I have posted in the videos, but just to let you know, they have got that email address to work. So out of 25 Reels, I give Studiovity 19. Now for a low piece of software, it's pretty good. So if you're wondering if you want to write a script and don't want to spend any money or a lot of money at all, I would give this software a look-see because it does have a free version. So give it a try. As I do with every software I review, if they have a free version, always try the free version before you buy, because it's always important to see if you like the program. I'd rather not have people have buyer's remorse. Give the program a try. See, hey, maybe this does work pretty well for you. You can write some scripts with this. It's pretty easy. It's got some pretty good blog resources for you. And you can discover if this is the part of filmmaking you like. Do you like being a writer? Now, the neat thing about Studiovity is you can also see if you like doing the production side. Do you like being a director-writer where you also have control of making your own short films? And the more I've been getting into screenwriting and the more I've been getting into the movie industry, I agree with Chris Gore that I think we need to have more independent films. And to do that, you need apps like Studiovity because they allow you to take control and plan your movie and shoot your movie. Because just because it's not in Hollywood doesn't mean it's not a good movie. And I think we need more non-Hollywood movies out there in order for us to see how good film can be. Because I think this current version of Hollywood is not suiting us as the consumers, as the audience. And I think it's taking apps like these and producing our own films. And I think this is it's a very cheap way to do it. So if you just want to give it a try, hey, I want to do a 15-minute film, I need to have all these tools. Don't go with Studio Binder, which costs twice the price, and you can do exactly the same thing with Studiovity. Give this one a try. So if you want to be that writer-director and do all your own productions, give this one a try. With that being said, if you want to be a Hollywood writer, I probably would not pick this one up because Hollywood is very particular about what they use. They want something more like fade in or final draft, something along those lines in order for, especially if you're going to work in TV, final draft seems to be the big one right now. Granted, I know the gold standard is PDF, but writing rooms tend to throw out the same thing. So just so you are aware of that. But again, if you're a beginning filmmaker, a beginning screenwriter, give this one a try. It's relatively inexpensive, especially if you use my code below. Again, plug. But it gives you an idea if this is something that you'd like to do. So give it a look-see. So hey, if you're new to my channel, my name is Paul from Screenwriting Mentor, and I make videos about screenwriting. More specifically, I make videos about screenwriting software, so if you have any questions, feel free to hit them up in the comment section below. There's a ton of screenwriting software out there. There's been an explosion in the last couple of years, so if there's one in particular you'd like me to look at, please let me know in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. I also do a lot of stuff with Kit Scenarist. I also hopefully we'll start beginning my final draft series. This is one I've been waiting to get into. I also do stuff on fade in as well, and a bunch of other softwares, hopefully Script as well too. There's a lot to cover, and it's pretty exciting to be a writer right now because there's a lot of different tools that we can use. So if you want to know anything more about tools or apps, hit it up in the comment section below and I'll talk about those as best I can. Also, if you're just interested in screenwriting, feel free to follow the channel as well too, because we talk a lot about screenwriting stuff as well too. And the next couple of videos, I'm hoping to create some more general screenwriting help, how to create characters, how to have good dialogue, how do we go from the idea to finished product, and also how do we use AI to help with our workflow, to make things easier, not to replace our brain, but to help sort of stimulate and help enhance what we're already doing to get stuff done faster. Well, until the next video, write well and live well.